We kept a lot of product change, product upgrades. In technical terminology, we were making a product which operates with screw, and then there were certain products which would operate with spring. So we thought we'll do this. In the year 2000, we did this. This whole thing is connected, that's why I'm taking a little longer. So we did this, we got those springs made with our supplier on the hand operated things. And with a fanfare, we kept 4 big posters of the new product spring, what was being done in Europe. Sure enough, the big ones, they would come into your booth without any identification whether he's from AVZ. He removes his tag and comes inside. Oh, can I have a screwdriver? Yes. He would operate and he has a smirk on his face. What is this nonsense? The greatest insult of mine took place that time. The product was a failure. So what we learned was the material used was bad. The method of manufacturing was bad. So a decision was made. This material needs to come from Sweden. We could identify. And this we could identify at that fairground. And you need a machine which is built in Taiwan. So there was your risk. Equipment would cost me 3 million rupees in the year 2000. Of course, I call the shots in my company, but then I had my partner who had 40% control. So out of courtesy, I tell him, okay, I want to buy this. He wouldn't have refused if I would have bought, but then it was my duty to just apprise him of the things. And he makes a comment, a business comment. Do you know you can buy a house when you want to buy a machine? It's okay. I engage a consultant, a retired tool room expert, and my own tool room head and myself. We take 7 days, go to Taiwan. We make a project report on the machine and come back and say 3 years will be through. Okay. It worked. This kind of challenges will always be there, whether you need this or this. So in that equipment, what we learned was we could generate quantities so that other business principle came, economy of scales. So if you have good machines, you have economy of scale. You produce more, you bring down the cost. But then you need a market for that. So you don't know where, what, everything is linked.
For dependable, reliable production,
you need to do everything. Yes.
Now the question about you have built a company up to a point wherein now it's not up to you who can directly manage or micromanage or guide people. So would you like to share something about how did you transition from a owner-driven, owner-managed company to now, a combination of family plus management or professionally driven company?
We may have noted my earlier comments. The so-called owner is at the bottom. So important thing is the top. So the thought that always pushed me to create some enterprise which has to live beyond my existence. Which means it is important this organization has to run. So, after, I would say, 1995, we started getting one by one good engineers, good people coming into the company, and you are very well versed, like if you are not making right payments, the markets will take them away. So our plant head today, he's with the company for 18 years. So we, rather started thinking that it's important that you need good professionals for everything. When the volumes go up, they go beyond your 10 fingers. You cannot control this. So, professionalism started coming in. General manager, domestic sales. General manager, manufacturing. General manager, development. Senior manager, quality control and assurance. General manager, finance. So when these things happen, we started realizing it is this team who is doing obligation to the management, not the management to the team. So it would be in the interest of the company that our team becomes stronger. And coincidentally, fortunately I would say, both of my sons are well qualified to come in the company and take up the challenges.
It was their choice to come back, though you trained them very well and you educated them very well.
Yes, yes. I mean, for the older one, I can. He finished his engineering here, and then he had a choice. We wanted him to do an MBA in the US. So before that, he was required to do job. So there were always offers, campus interviews, and you get offers. So he had some offers from 2 good companies. So we went to the consultant and consulted like, what is good for him before going for MBA, to work in those companies or in family company. He was advised to work in family company, with the point that here you will get to do everything, manufacturing, marketing, sales, everything. So he finished his job here and went for MBA, and there he got a job in the US, fortunately with distributor of ours. So he got this international experience of marketing these products, which is the backbone of our company, the exports. And in one of those visits of mine to the US, he said, when do you want me to come? I said, my son, I have no answer for this. You take your time. I'm good for 20 years. Whenever you want, you can come. No compulsion. And in another 1 year, he said, yes, he wants to come back. And the other son, he finished his engineering. I mean, we as a family, me, my wife, and the younger son, we had green card. We just gave it up. He went 10, 12 times to the US to keep his car green. You need to go 6 months every time. But he came with the conclusion that it would be better to work in the company. So I was fortunate, both of them volunteered to take up the things, and today they are doing a wonderful job with 10 years experience behind them. So this has allowed me to even not look into any of the day-to-day operations. Absolutely. My mobile phone never rings for any communication of day-to-day.
One thing I missed during your journey asking this, and very well brought about by Satish in our tea session. Do you believe that the liberalization program that Government of India started in 91 benefited your organization?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There is one more thing I would narrate. There's the other thing which popped up. 1991 was superb time. After that, we could import everything. No restrictions. Otherwise, how would you do it? It was a very joking episode that happened with me around that time before liberalization. Through my diner's card, I made a payment of $35 US for subscription of National Geographic magazine. And I got a letter from RBI telling me, show cause why action of infringement of foreign exchange should not be taken against you. Can you believe it?
You were allowed only $20 those days.
And the other good thing which I would now, in public domain, I would like to say is, other thing which good happened was, at that time not good, at that time it was